Confused about buyer agency fees? In this video, I'm gonna break down for you how your buyer's agent gets compensated and what this means for you. I'm Kat Berry with the Modern Living team at Compass in Chicago. I'm a top producing real estate agent based in Chicago and Paris, and I'm gonna share with you all about how your buyer's agent gets paid. So you've decided you wanna buy a house, but you're confused about how your real estate agent is gonna get paid? Let me break that down for you. And just for the record, real estate agent compensations have always been and continue to be 100% negotiable. Very important. So even if you are a savvy home buyer who has bought and sold many homes, if you have not done so in the last 2 years, this video is very important for you because things have changed. The biggest change is that you now have to have a buyer agency agreement in place with a real estate broker before you go tour a home. That doesn't mean you can't just walk into an open house. You can certainly walk into an open house, but if you see a property online that you want to go see, that agent is going to ask you for a buyer agency agreement, and if they don't, they are someone to be aware of because they are not up to date on the current regulations for how real estate transactions are handled. So we have to have a buyer agency agreement in place to go view a home for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is protect you as consumers and to protect agents so we understand what the relationship is between the buyer and the agent and what that agent is expecting to get paid if you purchase that home. Your agreement with this agent can be for one property, one day, or for several months or even up to a year. Personally, most of my buyer agency agreements are for between 3 and 6 months because that is typically about how long it takes to search and complete the whole sales process. In this buyer agency agreement, the important part for you as a buyer is this does outline the buyer's agent compensation and what the buyer's brokerage, the company that the agent works for, is going to ask for as compensation for their work, for helping you purchase a home. This is typically a percentage of the net sale price of the home you purchase. There might also be some additional fees like a $500 to $600 fee for marketing or they sometimes call it a tech fee, things like that. You may also see that some agents are now charging retainer fees to work for you, or they're charging a cancellation fee if you look at 100 homes and don't purchase one. Because it is important to understand that as real estate agents, we do not get paid a salary and we don't make any income unless you purchase a home. So some agents are now asking for these fees to cover their time and their expenses. Read this section carefully and remember that you can negotiate with your agent, especially if you are a repeat client that has done multiple deals with them over the years and someone that you have a long-term relationship with, chances are they'll be willing to negotiate or waive some of those additional items in that agreement. As far as the compensation goes, this is really great for you as a buyer because you are agreeing with the agent what you're going to pay them. Your agreement is for them to work for you. So they're going to be asking you for a percentage of the net sale price. Now, I want to show you a demonstration that my very first manager showed me about real estate agents' compensation because this is the entire commission that you see on the settlement statement when you buy a home. So people think, okay, the agent takes all this money. Actually, we have to pay our brokerage first, the company that we work for, in my case, Compass. Then we have to pay our taxes, okay? Then we have to pay our staff. We have to pay our car payment, gas, parking. This is what we have left at the end of the day. So we don't get to keep all of that money, but we are running a business and we are making a living, so it does need to be profitable for us. But this is where you can negotiate with your agent, okay, if I work with you, I will agree to sign a 6-month deal, but can you cut that 3.5% compensation down to 3%? Okay, great. Oftentimes they will agree to do that. However, will you have to pay this amount when you get to the closing table, or will the seller pay it? That is the biggest question out there that I get from buyers. In the Chicago market, the city of Chicago, our contract states that the seller will pay the buyer agent compensation. When you make them an offer, you put it on your offer just like you would the sales price, the closing date, the down payment that you're making, and your buyer's agent compensation. So you are presenting to the seller a whole package, and they can figure out what their net price is gonna be at your offer and negotiate with you on the total package. So they haven't agreed up front what to pay your brokerage. You've agreed up front what your brokerage is gonna get paid, and now you're negotiating with the seller on your total purchase package. This has allowed the seller to work directly with their agent and the buyer to work directly with their agent. And we're not muddying the waters with sellers agreeing up front what they're gonna pay somebody that works for you. So that is why this all happened and was all separated. The whole idea was to separate these compensations from the seller agreeing to pay everything up front. Now, let's say your buyer's agency agreement says that your buyer's agent wants 3.5% of the total net sale price, but the seller is only agreeing to pay them 3%. What do? Technically, the buyer's agent can ask you to pay that other 0.5%. However, in most cases, agents like myself and other top agents are renegotiating that at the time that your seller agrees to your total package. Will say, okay, no problem. Since this is the home that you want and this seller is not willing to pay that amount, I can reduce my compensation for you on this property to 3%. And that way you can feel comfortable moving forward purchasing that property. This is where it's really, really important that you have a trusting and a relationship built on trust with your real estate professional, because of the fact that the contract does state that you are responsible for the difference between what the seller is offering to pay in your sales agreement and what you've agreed to pay your agent's brokerage in your buyer agency agreement with them. It's very important that you have this trust and that you do believe that they will reduce this for you or renegotiate with you. So remember our dollar bill? How much is 0.5%? On a $500,000 home, it's not enough money for me to even worry about. My relationship with my buyers is way more important to me than some portion of 0.5% of the net sale price. So it's a nominal amount to your agent at the end of the day, and they should be willing to negotiate with you. Now, all of us are running a business, as I said earlier, and we all have certain amounts that we have to get for it to make sense for us. So I am not here to say that your agent should negotiate down to a number that doesn't work for them, but it is something that should be a constant conversation throughout the process while you're negotiating with the seller. And once you have that agreement in place, then you make sure that the compensations line up and that you're still on the same page with your agent. I was just telling a prospective buyer earlier today that of the 40 some transactions that I do per year, I have never once had a buyer have to pay the difference in compensation. And that is my personal business model. I do 100% of my business on referrals and past clients. So it's more important to me that I keep the trust with my client than to make a few extra bucks. Now, every agent runs their business completely differently, and every market is different. So please, please make sure you talk to your local real estate expert, your go-to person, about how this works in your market. In the city of Chicago, as I stated, sellers are still paying buyer agent compensations. It's in our offer. It says sale price, it says earnest money, then it says buyer broker compensation. It's right there on the very first page of the offer that you make. Not every market works that way. So this is why it's important to talk to a local expert. And if you don't have a local real estate expert that you trust and you need one, please reach out to me. I have a massive network of ethical, high quality, top producing agents all over the country that I would be happy to connect you with. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please reach out with additional questions, and don't forget to like, comment, and follow for more home buying and selling content.